Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's NADA webinar. My name is Ashley Smith, Senior Marketing Manager here at NADA, and I will be your host. From all of us at the National Automobile Dealers Association, we're happy to have you. Today's webinar will be recorded and available on NADA's website. As a quick reminder, NADA.org is an online resource and learning tool available to you and your entire staff. Each of your team members can create their own free login and access over 500 online resources today, including driven management guides, webinars, and NADA show workshop recordings. We have 45 minutes scheduled for this webinar, including Q&A. Please type any questions or comments for our presenters into the Q&A box. You can find this located at the bottom of your screen throughout the entire presentation. At the end, we'll ask as many questions as we can in the allotted time. This webinar has been prepared for informational purposes only and is not intended to constitute legal advice. Participants should contact their attorney to obtain advice with respect to any particular legal matter. Now, with all of that out of the way, today's topic is clean, compliant, connected, and caffeinated. How auto dealers can avoid costly data mistakes. Today, we're going to discuss Dealer Vault or NADA Vault, powered by Authenticom's Dealer Vault. NADA Vault will help dealers securely transfer and share their data among vendors as needed. The syndication enables secure, effective, and compliant data management for dealerships. NADA Vault provides dealers with simple, transparent approach that maximizes data flow efficiency, reduces cost, and lowers risk. But now I'll toss it over to Michelle Phelps, Senior Director of Customer Success at Authenticom. Michelle, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Ashley, and welcome everyone to today's webinar. Very excited to talk about something that affects every dealership, but often gets overlooked, data. We've added caffeinated to our title because we know that managing data can be exhausting, but we're here to energize your approach to it. I hope you'll all enjoy your complimentary cup of coffee, and let's get started. So my name is Michelle Phelps, and I'll be your tour guide and host today. I've been with Authenticom since 2015, and with almost a decade under my belt in automotive, I bring valuable insight to the table by way of understanding the data landscape. I'm very fortunate in my role to collaborate with so many amazing people in our industry, whether it's vendors needing data, OEMs, DMSs, CRM companies, all the way from large and small dealership groups down to the local mom and pop independent dealer who needs help with their data. So thank you all for having me here, and I will turn it over to April Simmons next to introduce herself.
Hi.
April?
My name is April Simmons. I am the Corporate Internet and Marketing Director at Horne Auto Group. We are located in Arizona. We've got 14 dealerships. This is my 28th year in automotive. I've done almost every job in the variable side of the business, and I'm super excited to talk with Michelle and Todd about something that's near and dear to my heart. So Todd, tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Todd Smith. I'm the CEO of QoreA. I've been in the auto industry for well over 30 years now. It's scary to say that. My passion has been over the last few years to really help dealers organize all their data, especially around groups, and to help prepare that data for the world of AI that we're heading into quickly. So just excited to be here and share the stage with two amazing people.
Well, thank you so much, Todd and April. Now, let's dive into the agenda for our time together this afternoon. We're going to kick things off with a look at data access and control, touching on some key things that you should be thinking about at your dealership. We'll move on to then data cleansing and best practices and wrap things up with a little Q&A. While I'll be your tour guide today, I'm not flying solo. Todd and April are here too. We'll be kind of jumping in, throwing some real world stories from both sides of the fence. So whether you're a dealer tuning in or you're coming from the vendor side, we've got stories to share along the way. This kind of setting the vibe. This isn't your typical webinar. We're aiming for something a little more conversational. So we'd love to see you engage with us in the chat. Drop your questions in there. We'll probably pull some out as needed. And then go ahead, start sharing stories if there's something that we're saying that resonates with yourself as well. And then stick around because we've got a killer surprise and giveaway that we are doing on the call. So, all right, let's get into it. Let's start with data access and control. So let's be honest, the current state of data access and control in most dealerships is kind of like the wild, wild west. I always laugh when people kind of come to me and talk to me about what's going on with the data and control and everything. And if you're like most dealerships, you're juggling a lot of relationships with dozens of different vendors. Each one has their own different unique demand, different file formats, delivery methods, security requirements. It's kind of chaotic and you're not really managing your data. You're really reacting to everyone else's requests. Every vendor wants something different, and it's like trying to translate 5 different languages just to pull together a simple report. And shout out us in the comments if you've burned hours and entire afternoons exporting data, cleaning up spreadsheets, uploading files. It's all just, it's exhausting. And honestly, it's not the best use of your time with running a dealership. And not to mention, once data is out the door, who's tracking it? Where is it stored? Is it secure? For a lot of dealerships, there's no clear answer. There's no centralized view of who has what. And that's a huge risk we're here to talk about today. Because when your data is scattered across vendors and platforms, staying compliant becomes nearly impossible. Whether we're talking privacy laws, security standards, internal policies, scattered data leaves you exposed and vulnerable to breaches or regulatory fines. So the short end of it is you're probably not in control of your data, and that's a really risky place to be. So April, this is where I'd really love to hear your story. Can you walk us through what your data situation looked like before? What drove Horne Auto Group to make change and how you approach that transformation?
So I'll try to make a long story short because we don't have too much time today, but really what happened is I was actually partnering with one particular vendor that was really struggling with getting data from one of my DMSs. Now, I happen to have 3 different DMSs, so that in and of itself creates a lot of different headaches. Simultaneously, at the same time, all the new FTC laws were coming out and trying to figure out how can we make sure all of our vendors are compliant. And so there was just a lot of this buzz. So this one particular vendor said, hey, wait a minute, we can actually get the data from Authenticom. And I was like, wait, Authenticom, that's Dealer Vault, right? I started to realize, hey, I already have a lot of connections, whether it be through different vendors, and one of my other DMSs was already using them. And I thought, well, they've got to be secure because they've already done all this legwork, and there's a lot that they've already accomplished. That prompted me to reach out to Dealer Vault and say, hey, as a dealer, could we partner as a dealership group to be able to get all of my data to be in one place? But most importantly, not only be in one place, but then be compliant in that place and then be actionable to all vendors in that place. Because as most people, any dealer who's watching this that knows about the relationship of different vendors, a lot of them like to have these walled gardens, right? They don't like to share from vendor A to vendor B to vendor C, which then puts dealerships in this really risky place of downloading and uploading spreadsheets all over the place. Well, if you look at these FTC laws, you want to talk about a huge amount of PII just sitting on computers everywhere. It's insane. Not to mention these people whose computers they're sitting on, what happens when they leave your dealership. You're really stuck in some risky spots. So from there, we actually started our Dealer Vault partnership within Horne Auto Group. And super exciting that a year later, it was renamed and rebranded and partnered with NADA and called NADA Vault. We now are able to move our data. First of all, ingesting all the data from all the different places into the vault. And then from there, that vault can then push out to any vendor that I want to have access to it and done in a secure fashion. So it's been an amazing journey working with the team.
Thank you, April. That really sounds like a kind of crazy situation, kind of the data chaos we were talking about. And I'm really happy to have you on Native Vault and here with us today, because it is about really controlling all of that chaos, like you said. So April painted a really real picture of that chaos, but let's talk about really what Native Vault is that she has been talking about. So Native Vault, think of it like an ecosystem. It's a comprehensive data management and syndication platform designed specifically for that data movement between dealers and vendors. At its core, it's about putting, you know, individuals at the dealership group or individual level, like April here, back in control of what is going on down to the field level. You can see exactly where your data is going, who's receiving it. There's no more blind handoffs or mystery exports like April was talking about with Excel spreadsheets flying everywhere. Now, here's how it works. Dealers partner with the vendors because of the valuable services that they offer to help, you know, the operations inside the dealerships. Vendors, in turn, need access to the dealership's data to deliver on those services. That part will never change. What will change is how that connection happens. Our goal is to really make that data exchange as simple, secure, and transparent as possible. So with Native Vault, everything you have, like April said, is in one place. It's one centralized dashboard that gives you the tools to manage data feeds with confidence. No more digging through the spreadsheets April was talking about or chasing down the files where they went. It's streamlined, trackable, auditable, right? Like you can audit where everything is and really easy to manage.
And vendor agnostic, which I think is one of the
There you go.
hugest points to dealers that's really important to note, is too many times with data control is actually walled gardens to that particular vendor. So the one thing with Native Vault and Dealer Vault is that it is vendor agnostic. So I think that's also a really important aspect of it.
Yeah, and thank you for pointing that out. We like to say, you know, love all, serve all, from the, you know, just industry giant out there that needs data, all the way down to the new entrepreneur that's like, I don't know really how to get data or anything. We love helping out all of the dealers and the vendors on everything, because we believe that the dealers own the data, and absolutely they have the right to choose where they want it to go. We don't come in and say, you know, no, we don't want to work with you because you only have 10 dealerships, right? We want to work with everybody, and we like to play in that friendly sandbox in the industry. Right, Todd?
Absolutely.
So this is such great information, but you're still probably asking yourself, you know, how, right? And without giving too much of the secret sauce away. So at Authenticom, we receive data in multiple methods. We know that, you know, the industry has been moving to API, but there's still out there people with SFTP, dealer-driven deliveries. So we ingest that data into our secure environment in a multitude of ways. We're able to then standardize. One of the big problems that I see, and Todd, I'll probably open this up to you in just a minute, is that when you are a vendor, you're having to deal with all different kinds of data and mappings, and everything is named differently. So what we've done is we've been able to standardize that data into unique kind of field mappings. Then we layer in basic hygiene to the data, and then dealers, obviously, as April said, tell us where they want that data to go. So apply VIN explosion, CAS standardization, which helps ensure that the address data is in the same format. And once we run it through those processes, then the data is there for the dealers and the vendors. Todd, now you've been a long time user of the Authenticom products and stuff. When you think about just the process of integrating with a ton of different DMSs, what runs through your mind?
Obviously, it's very complex in general. Not only the DMSs, different data structures, different data schemas, how they organize that, and then that begins the problem of data normalization, as we all know in the industry. And then there's a layering down. Every individual dealer has different fields, custom fields, things that they have built through time that are one-offs. So finding normality inside dealer data is always a challenge. And this is where we understand AI is going to continue to improve our ability to just quickly learn what things are, what the meaning behind them is, and then what that information is that rests in whatever fields inside that system. So.
That's great. April, anything to add on your end? Because you've also kind of gone through this data transformation lately, and you're now using a native vault and the Authenticom product. So what has kind of using the platform changed in your business perspective?
So I think there's two really key elements on that. One is the ease of use, right? So once you have your vault set up, and let's just say tomorrow a new vendor needs access, it's literally like, okay, well, I have Authenticom. They send in the request. I go in and click a button, approve, or deny, and we're done, right? It doesn't require a bunch of intake forms or, hey, let's do a data set to make sure that what I see is what you see, those kind of things that we've had to do in the past that are just really time consuming to the dealer. So it's really simple. The other thing that is really valuable that Authenticom does for the dealer is that dealers don't have time. We know this. We're reactive human beings. And so we typically won't notice fire until the building's already burnt to the ground, right? So that's just how it works. So the one thing that Authenticom does is they literally will send you notifications and emails if they see smoke, if there's an issue that says, hey, something isn't right, something isn't working right, the data seems to have a problem. They bring it to your attention proactively so that we don't find out weeks or months later that we've had this ongoing issue that just hadn't been resolved. So those two factors, I think, are really important to understand the power. Plus, I don't have to log into 95 platforms. I joke about this all the time. The F word to me is a dashboard, right? Like that is like an F word to me because I have 86 logins. As we sit here today, I have 86 logins. So imagine if I had to also manage data within all 86 of those. How often or frequently would I be able to catch issues or make sure things are actually flowing smoothly? Not very often.
You can't, right?
Exactly.
One of the things I think about too is just when we're talking about access and control. I mean, April, how many vendors do you work with today?
I can't even tell you. Like, I honestly, like, how is that a number that I generally couldn't even spit out a number without it being such a guess?
Yeah, one of my most favorite things I love to do with dealers when they're like, well, it's fine. What I'm doing today is working. And I'll be like, okay, let's put your money where your mouth is, right? And let's log into your DMS. And I know how to log into every single one of them and exactly where to navigate them to. And I'll talk about, let's run a report on who is actually getting your data today. And the results are always just mind blowing because, and you literally see light bulbs just go off because I haven't worked with that vendor in 5 years. Well, guess what? They just got your data today, even, right? And when you think about the regulations and the liability and everything that is happening and not being able to actually track and understand who has your data, it's a huge risk there. So you touched on a key point there that is just like just managing all the different relationships and stuff. That's really what Native Vault is intended to do.
I want to throw out a public service announcement though right now to all vendors watching this. Please care, if you really truly care about your dealers like you say you do, off board with the same intensity as you on board. Because that is one of the key things that never happens. We're so quick to get that access and get plugged in and all these things, but that should never happen, Michelle. And unfortunately, that happens all day, every day. And it's not just the DMS, it's all the other things that they're plugged into, your tags on the sites, all these different things, not to get on a tangent, but just a 10-second public service announcement. If you really care, off board with the same care that you on board.
I love it, April. I love it. I couldn't agree more. And feel free to do all the PSAs because us three specifically, right? We have very different perspectives. And sometimes people just have their head in the sand. And this is why we're here today to talk about some of these things. So bring on the PSAs. All right. So going to take a little break here. So don't let me get too corny here, but we've teamed up with our partners at NADA for a killer giveaway just in time for Friday the 13th coming up. Up for grabs with a total value of $15,000. We have 2 all-access passes to NADA in Vegas next year. A full data cleansing of data that you choose, whether it's your DMS data or CRM data. We want to give that run through our entire processes, and then a 1-year SiriusXM subscription. Just pop the link open in your browser or open your phone and scan that QR code. You can do it now or after we post the rerun of this webinar, but don't wait too long. Register by June 13th, or you'll have to live with regret of what could have been. All right. Let's shift gears here a bit and move on to something that I know all 3 of us are so passionate about. Controlling data is just one element of the larger picture. But what about the accuracy of that data? Now, Todd, I know you have extensive knowledge in this area. What are you seeing out there when you think of dirty data?
Well,
loaded question, I know.
Yes, so thank you. That would be what I call a perfect tee up of a conversation around data. And we find very often in every system we get access to, the data has issues. It could be DMS data. People no longer own cars at 40% plus rate. It could be, we did a project not too long ago for a good sized group, had a clean data lake, they said, and 33,000 people were deceased in those records. But this is common. And I used to, I guess, shake my head when you would see this kind of stuff. But then I realized this is pretty common in data in general, because automotive data, it's basic DMS data, CRM data is snapshot data. It's like one sale transaction. It's a service RO transaction. It's a lead. And those snapshots, are only valuable, that data is only valuable for so long because it decays. Mm-hmm. And I don't think many dealers think in that regard that, you think the data is permanent. It's really not. So email addresses decay at about 2.5% a month. So you have a pretty quick decay. So if you think about your CRM, if you're not cleaning it, every year, 30% of your emails are bad. And then think what happens because of that. Deliverability, you have lots of downstream challenges. And I know we'll talk about that. But phone numbers also, 25% of phone numbers go bad per year, which I thought was crazy because I've had the same number since 1998. But I found phone numbers. Home addresses, 10 to 14% per year. And, as I said, vehicle ownership always seems to be at 40% or north in every DMS that they no longer own it. So we're miscommunicating with those customers. So it's not only that data, which is customer data deteriorating, it's then input data where we'll see mistakes being made with data being put in, whether accidentally or manipulatively. I said that totally wrong, but
we won't hold you to it.
Yeah, please do not hold me. My lips got all caught up in my tongue there. very interesting that, a salesperson, and I think, April, we talked about this before, where salespeople will change the name of a customer to hide it so they get the sale, or put it in as something different because a previous salesperson had that lead. And you see all this, and this data just keeps flowing then down to the vendors. And then they're miscommunicating with those customers. But it's not uncommon to see all types of bad data moments inside any system. And the problem is then you have correlation of data, right? DMS says one, CRM says another, the email vendor says something else. And then, as April said, April's can't even name or put a number on how many platforms she has. There's data held across all of them. There's some level of data. You may send a copy out of Dealer Vault to, let's say, a marketing vendor, but now they're also capturing data. Did the customer open it? Did they go to the website? Did they click on something? So there's all types of metadata, what we call like exhaust data, on all those interactions too. And that, to me, it gets obviously so complex so fast. And these are the problems we continue to try to solve for groups. So
I'll tell you, like, at this point in this, if you're still sticking with us, the big point to all this is, why should you care? So for the dealers, the reason you should care about this, besides compliance and all the fines and all the things, which I know is not the fun part, but today, even if you're not getting fined, is money, 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 money. Okay. And then for the vendors, why should you care? It's performance. Okay. So let's think about this. If you send out a ton of mailers and email and Facebook and all this stuff to somebody who is deceased, okay, we'll use that as the first example. That person is not going to transact, which means you're lowering your performance, correct? On the vendor side or on the dealer side, that person is not going to transact. And conversely, it also goes a step further and makes it even worse, because I get calls still at least once a month from somebody who is so upset that they are still getting marketing materials from somebody who has passed away, a spouse or a parent or something of that nature. Do you think that that person's ever going to do business with your company again? Absolutely not. So you have actually done a negative ROI in this specific situation. Now, I give you another example, because this is where it gets fun about the examples on cost, right? Like real money just flushing it down the toilet every time we turn around. I literally the other day got not one, not two, but three beautiful 3 fold-out mailers, color, glossy, all the things, 3, to trade in a car that I have not owned for over 2 years. And all 3 mail pieces showed up at my house on the same day to my husband, 1 name, 3 pieces of mail. How much did that cost? And again, am I going to transact? No. So the dealer flushed a bunch of money, and the vendor is going to have poor performance, which means I may not use that vendor again because they used dirty data. So dirty data has a lot of problems that come up from this. That's before we even start to jump into the compliance aspect. So this one, I get threatened to be sued at least once a week, literally at least once a week, because somewhere, the dealership did what they're supposed to do. Perfect example. I have a plethora of them, but I'll give you one. Customer calls the dealership and says, hey, take me off your list. Salesman says, yeah, no problem. I got you. They go into the CRM. They opt the person out. They think everything's copacetic and good, right? But unfortunately, the OEM is still pulling some dirty data, right? So they pull out dirty data and they now market to this customer. This customer now calls me screaming, I told you people to take me off your list. I'm going to sue the pants off you, blah, 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 et cetera, right? So these are the things that are happening every day. And when we have data in too many places and we're not controlling it, not only are we wasting money and opening up risk, but it is unrealistic to expect our humans to be able to go into 55 different platforms and opt people out, which is the solution that I get told often. Oh, all you had to do was log into our platform. I'm like, okay, so you think a salesperson, when they take one of these calls, is going to log into 50 different platforms to opt them out individually? That's ridiculous. We have to do better. And this is where these conversations of making it better are so exciting.
I couldn't agree more, April. And I mean, I personally, so I think about lifetime value of a customer, right? And I had stopped doing business with a dealership because I would get calls and calls. You know, we've all experienced those like to talk to you about your extended warranty, right? Calls. And we've all seen the commercials. But I had that happening. And it was just like I would block the number every time. And I'm like, I have not owned that vehicle anymore. And can you guys just get it together? And it all leads back to the data that and where they were sourcing their information from.
Right.
Todd, anything else to add here?
Yeah, I'd add one more thing, and I've just doubled down on what both you and April have said, that cleaning your data should be the #1 job of your dealership or group today. It is the most valuable asset. And if you have any ambition to start to leverage AI to do any type of tasks, whether it's conversational AI on your website, whether it's using AI in your service department for scheduling or customer communication, or leveraging AI in your BDC for lead communication as well. If the data is not clean and organized, the AI will start saying all kinds of things that are incorrect, wrong, and create terrible experiences, and it'll accelerate bad performance. So, and you also not only have to clean the data, then you have to structure the data that AI can leverage it. So vectoring the data, putting on a graph, there's things that have to happen mechanically for your data to become available that AI can use. And I think we're entering this opportunity phase to be able to leverage new technology, but you have to spend the time and effort to hygiene your data, enhance your data, fill in the holes, make sure everything's right, and ultimately put yourself in a finely tuned F1 machine. And your data should be like that. And it's constantly changing. And you can't do this once a year. You can't do it once every so often. This has to become a daily practice organizationally.
And
Okay,
real
Todd.
time, Todd.
Now you're getting into the best practices session. Come on, Todd. Save it.
Sorry.
Well, and just one use case though, Michelle, that I want to bring up, like clean data to go to that next level of not just having it clean, but actually understanding who the human actually is. Because ultimately what happens, and this has happened to us too, you get a, hey, I get a text message that says, you need to bring your blah, blah, blah car in for service. And I'm like, it was in yesterday. Right? Like literally I just took it in yesterday. What are you talking about? And that happens all the time. And some of the reason it happens is because I bought the car, but I bought the car for my son. My son is the one who brought it in for service. When he brought it in for service, they didn't say, well, whose name is it registered to? They said, who are you? They put him into the system. So now you might have me, my husband, my son, you may have multiple people that are attached to one car, but getting 3 different marketing messages for the same car, right? So this is where when we talk about data cleaning and AI usage to, actually automate some of this marketing and data moving, we have to make sure that we also have that cleaning happening.
Right. And that comes down to what's called householding. So we understand multiple people live in this house, and they could all interact with the dealership through one car, multiple cars. But understanding all that data connects and correlates, right? And that to me has been overlooked for the last 30 years in our industry. The systems just weren't designed for that, to capture the data that it understands that, people can have both active or tangential type relationships around a vehicle, that is servicing at your dealership. And I think what you put up is a great use case, April, that happens all the time when wife or husband brings in the vice versa car. And now we have two people getting the same marketing. With technology today, you can easily understand that's a household. I don't need to send it to all three. We send it to one, the primary, maybe who purchased the car. Or if we still, you could think of it this way. Even now with technology, if let's say a car was purchased by a husband and wife together, which would be a normal transactional experience, yet we see the wife continually bring in the car, then most likely waiting that, the wife should get the correspondence particular to that vehicle. So this is where technology can help us really not only understand our customers, but more importantly, we learn about our customers by understanding the data that lives below.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And you guys bring up really real stories, right? We're all sharing real stories that we have all experienced, but what do we do about it, right? So it's one thing to get the data and then, you have to clean it. And to me, that's where record recharge comes in because there's disparate systems. There is just data flying all over the place and people are merging data and then there's duplicates and then it's bad data and the fat fingering and everything. So it's more than just, to me, like cleaning up a giant mess. It's about just understanding what the data is, how you actually want to utilize that data, verifying contact details so you're not chasing down, dead numbers or bounced emails, and making sure you're compliant, especially with today's privacy and communication regulations. Because just to me, just bad data is annoying. It's costly. It wastes time, drives poor decisions, and the legal risk is, just scary to think about. So obviously clean, accurate, compliant consumer record, I think of like the golden record of truth, right? Is the most valuable asset the dealership can have. So if anybody's looking out there, I hate to pitch it, but give us a call. We would love to talk about record recharge with you and help, because we've helped April, Todd, vendors, dealers, large dealership groups go through kind of this process of cleaning the data, which kind of leads right into just best practices to leave you all with today. So Todd, April, what are some things that you guys would recommend for dealers to start implementing when we think about just control and data accuracy? Any advice for the dealers on the call today?
April, you want to start?
For me, I'd make it really simple. When it comes to this kind of thing, I'm a big DIY kind of person. I like to do everything myself and get my hands on it. But this is too important, and it's got too many moving parts for most dealers. So the number one thing I would actually recommend is that you find the right vendor partner to help you with this specific piece, because you need somebody who is very dialed in on it, understands it, and can keep their pulse on it.
Yeah, from my perspective, I'll take it. What we've done with auto groups is really, in our focus has been first, this is the hard part. You need to document how data is flowing organizationally. This is the cumbersome problem of time, to understand that here are all my vendors, who gets what data, how much, how are they getting the data right now, because every connection point is a vulnerability for attack. So you also have to think about that from a security and compliance factor. So that is first thing. So first thing is mapping how everything is flowing. You'll see all types. I think, Michelle, you pointed out earlier, where not uncommon for a dealer to you go into the system and they're sending data to 5, 10, 15, 20 other companies that they're no longer have a contract with. So I think first thing is understanding your data landscape. Once you understand and have the data landscape at place, then you have to look at what are the strategical goals of the organization. So aggregating all the data in one spot that is then cleaned, organized, and ultimately you'll want to enhance the data. Your data alone is not enough. meaning because all the data coming out of dealership systems is just transactional touch points. You're going to want to round that data out with behavioral, psychodemographic data. You're going to want to put more intelligence behind it, because it's through that intelligence with the transactional data, then you can start to build things and you can start to leverage AI. We built everything from propensity models to know, hey, these customers that are in your current data are in market. They're looking to buy. Or finding what we call cross matches, where they're coming in for service, but they have a really high propensity. Those are people we'd want to send an appraisal to, because they're sending mixed emotions, right? They're coming in to get their car fixed, but why do they have a really high propensity? It could be they're going to fix the car to sell outright. They're going to fix the car to give to a kid, family, spouse, someone. So all that intelligence, you need to have a good framework and strategy for what you're going to target. And I think once you do that, the world is yours. And where we're going with AI and the power of what you can do with it is right now virtually unlimited. You can understand your data at a whole new level. I would never, ever suggest uploading any data you have into ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, Gemini, or any other system. None of them are secure. Even if you toggle it that says, do not share it, your data is not secure. It is a publicly available. You are going to open yourself up for incredible liability. A research study just came out of Cornell that they blew holes in it. Even if the data was vectored, it is still available. So never send any data. Don't put anything with PII, never send it raw into an LLM. So that is
second PSA for the day, and I know we're running out of time, but I have to throw it out there. Because the majority of your employees do not know that, they do not know that it's a bad thing to put this PII into ChatGPT or Claude or any of these things. I highly, highly recommend you get a new addendum to your employee handbook that explains that they're not allowed to do that, and have every employee sign off that they understand that they cannot take any customer's PII and put it into any type of system outside of the current one that it's in.
Absolutely. And even beyond that, even your vendors. So vendors are using AI, and it's just open, and they're writing emails out of your CRM into an open AI structure. PII is being exposed every time. So these are the things, like, yes, we want to leverage the power of what's coming with AI, but we have to do it from a security first perspective. And that needs to be a mindset, especially around this type of data, because it will not be long till I'm sure the FTC comes around and says, oh, you created 20,000 emails and exposed 20,000 customer records to ChatGPT. We're fining you X dollars for doing that. So definitely this should be on everyone's watch list, but really just comes down to focus on data fundamentals first. Hygiene, organization, and ultimately building a strategy of how you're ultimately going to leverage that, and do it from a dealer-owned data-first mindset.
I could not have said it better myself. Obviously, this is a topic that the three of us are very, very passionate about. We probably could have had a 2-hour webinar on this one. I know we only have a couple minutes left, so I would like to open it up for some questions. Ashley, I'm going to pull you back in. And did we have any questions?
Absolutely. First, I'd like to thank all of you so much. Such an informative and interesting topic of conversation today. So I really appreciate you taking time out to educate our members, and appreciate everybody who was able to join. As Michelle mentioned, we do have time for questions. So if you would like a question asked on your behalf, please type it into the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. So first question came in pretty early on. I think April was speaking, and it said, how has AI impacted you?
That's a really, it's impacted every dealership, right? And I think one of the big things with AI that we have to be careful of is it's quite a buzzword. So you really need to, first of all, understand when somebody says AI, what that actually means. Is it powered by? Is it powered behind? Is it open? Is it not? Is it creating automation? What exactly is the AI doing, and understanding what that is? And if you don't know, there's enough information out there at this point. Go and start looking at YouTube and different things to understand what AI is, right? That's step number one. Because I use AI all day, every day for a whole lot of things, to create training manuals and to do different things. But I certainly am not going to take and copy and paste PII into it, right? In fact, I will tell you, I caught one of my dealerships doing that, hence what took me down this rabbit hole of understanding, A, I needed to educate every one of my humans, and B, we needed to change our employee handbook to include that. So I think that is really important to understand. But AI still needs to be, look at AI as the car, right? But the human is still the driver, right? Like, I know there's Waymos and stuff like that. Like, I'm not talking about that. Maybe someday, right? But I'm talking about, like, a normal car today still requires the human to be behind the driver's seat. And you need to look at your AI solutions as that. Too many vendors out there are creating AI solutions as if it's a hands-off approach for the dealer. That's not the case. It still needs the human to take it from here to here. It's just going to kind of fill in the gaps in between. So that's what, how I look at AI and how it's making a difference.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Next question is, how do you balance improving data quality without overwhelming sales or service teams who already feel stretched?
Oh, this one's easy. If you hire the people to take all your data and put it into one place, and then you hire the other human to clean it for you, then you don't have to worry about the fact that your sales and service humans are always going to do the wrong thing. They just are. They're just human beings. Human beings are always going to do that. But with all the money you're going to save from not sending 3 mailers to somebody who doesn't own a car anymore, right? That's where you can afford now to have the people who are going to clean the data for you. So take all the savings from this piggy jar over here and be able to move it over here so that you have all your data in one place and now it's clean.
Yeah, and honestly, there's no way humans are going to clean data. Like, you need technology at this point to understand, find patterns in the data, make correlations, things that humans just don't see. And we're really bad as humans, and we fat finger things, .con instead of .com. It's a comma instead of a period, which breaks any marketing downstream because it'll throw it out as a bad email address. So I think it's critical that this is where you leverage technology. AI is very good at, making corrections. I can give you a good example where we, trained our AI to spot issues in all data error. That would be very common, and we give it like capabilities. And then the AI ultimately went and changed a vehicle price. Someone had priced a Honda Pilot at $5.38 million instead of $53,000. Not uncommon, right? They just missed the decimal point. So the system corrected it. The most interesting thing about this story briefly is we did not train it to look at the inventory field price. It figured it out itself, knowing that, hey, the average Pilot is down in this range. That's probably just added 2 zeros. So we see more and more of this coming where automation will do the heavy work of cleaning data. But as April said, you still want a human in the loop to ensure what was cleaned is right. So spot testing your data is always still critical.
Fantastic. Thank you. Next question from Cassandra is for April. She asks, since partnering with the Native Vault and doing a data cleanse, how has this impacted your sales and saved on your marketing budget? Have you seen an uplift in ROI and engagement with campaigns?
So great question. I would say that what the big thing is it's done is we've now been able to, I say my number one job is to squeeze dimes out of pennies, right? Which is that ROI. What having clean data has done, and I actually A/B tested this early on by having only a couple of stores doing it one way and a couple of the other. And what we saw was that the performance of our marketing was much better, right? To the tune of around if I just throw a number at it, because I didn't come with all of the details, but around 20% lift, which makes sense when you consider dirty data causes 20 to 30%, loss, then it makes sense that we would then see that 20% in performance lift in the performance of our marketing. So now this year, while everyone's looking to cut budgets, because we have this foundation in place, it's a little bit easier for us to trim without it really massively impacting our business. Which I want to bring up, I think is also much more impactful in service than even sales. I think the service department is the spot where we overlap and we overspend massively to bring back in customers that don't have the car, that moved away, that because just from a sheer volume standpoint, we absolutely need to get a grip on our data, especially when it comes to our service departments.
Great, thank you so much. Okay, next question from David is, how much of a lift is it to go live on Native Vault?
I can speak to that one. So Native Vault is a free tool for dealers. We have an amazing team of our operations team. So what we can do, you can go to nativevault.com. You can register online right away. And our team of our experts will reach out to you and start asking you questions. What DMS are you using? Where do you house your data? Our integration time, it's really on your time. So the best time for you that you might have some time to sit down with us and talk about it and go through a demo, but really it takes an hour, maybe two, as long as we have all the pertinent information that we need. Once you go live with Native Vault, your data, you have it in that central repository, and then you can control it. You can start adding your vendors. You can audit where your data is going. You can see the actual files and fields and everything that is being sent to your vendor partners. So absolutely, feel free to go to nada.com. nativevault.com, and we'll help you get started. If you ever have any questions, feel free to go to Authenticom.com and start up a chat with anyone on our team. We'll be happy to guide you through it.
I think one thing to recognize here too is that most dealers probably already have a relationship with Authenticom. They may not even know it because so many vendors exclusively have used them in the past. So they may already be using this and already have some of that foundation stuff already done, which makes this lift even easier.
That's so true, April. So we are in roughly about 11 to 12,000 dealers today. And somewhere along the line, somebody was like, heck yeah, I want to do this. It could have been a controller or a GM or, a marketing individual. Check with us first. We'll be happy to give you access to that existing account after going through some validation. And then, in most cases, we already have that foundation started. So just reach out to us and we'll be happy to guide you through that.
Wonderful. Great point, April. And thanks for expanding on that, Michelle. All right, I think we'll take one last question so that we leave time for you all to have some closing remarks. But Talita asked, what metrics do you typically use to define success after a data hygiene project or an onboarding initiative? How do you know when it's working?
I'll say from my end, as someone that actually does the hygiene, I love doing large hygiene projects, especially when someone is going from like one DMS to another, right? Just give me all the data and let's take a look at it. And I'll spend time with individuals and say, all right, let's look at the metrics. We've got 43% that we validated emails and then we appended new ones. So you have that lift there. Or, hey, all of these ones moved, put in the new address. So there's a lot of different things I look at in terms of just numbers, right? But April or Todd, what else do you guys see? Because April, I think on your end, right? Less phone calls, less less bounces and things being sent back to the dealership because it couldn't
Yeah.
be delivered, right? What are
Yeah,
some
I
of
mean,
the
you go from
metrics
getting
you
the
have?
bundle, right, of all
Right.
the mail that came back to you,
Couldn't be
the
delivered.
dealership, right? Like that's number one. And you go, man, look at all these dollars we spent to advertise to ourselves. Like that was awesome.
Yep.
Ticked off customers not calling. But I think the big one, and this is important, and I'm gonna tee this up for Todd because he has a really good example of this. A lot of times we think we have clean data, but ultimately if there's one thing to say it's clean, which just means, hey, we maybe opted some people out or took care of this, but actually finding the right data, right? To go out there and say, this email doesn't exist, but now here is the email that's April's email and plugging it in or changing it to the accurate information. Any of these vendors who are doing this should be able to provide you that data. They should say, here's the number of records that we started with. Here's the number of records that had an incorrect email, address, and phone number. Here's the ones that we scrubbed out because they don't exist, don't have this car anymore. Here's the ones we scrubbed out that are deceased. And here's the ones we went back in and added an email, added a phone number, or added a mailing address to these existing clients that still have that car. They should be able to provide that data. And from there, it's really easy to see how much money that's saving you and what that ROI is. And that's going to be different store to store, right? A small store that maybe, just opened its doors a week ago is not going to have the same issue as a store that sells, 500 cars a month that's been open for 20 years. So you're going to have a massive variance there. But for groups especially, it is so very, very important. And the money is easy to see once you look at that data.
Yeah.
And I think, go ahead, Todd.
So I would even add to that, right? So once you do that and you have data and you go through that hygiene process and you have a very clear understanding of what's done, one, you want to ensure that the data is being triangulated. You just don't want to put something in a field because you found something somewhere else. There's nothing that says, was that one valid? And did it really match to that customer record? There's lots of Todd Smiths in the world. So you need to really have a very clear data chain of custody that understands and a weighting system that says, yeah, we're 80, 90% sure this is this person's information. I would always put that first because you don't just want to fill holes because there's not necessarily, you might not be filling it with correct data. I think one of the true outcomes also, when you look at this, when you do have clean data, forget all the marketing downstream and the benefits of that. You actually now really understand how your organization operates, how many real customers you have. Many dealers I talk to, they'll tell me they have 100,000 or 150,000 records in their DMS or CRM. Yet when we crush it all down, average store probably has 17 to 19,000 real, legitimate, active customers in their ecosystem. So the rest of that is noise. So to me, by eliminating the noise, it allows you to focus better. By focusing better, you spend less, but more targeted, you generate better outcomes. So I think all of these things tie together, but it always will go back to spending the effort to ensure your data is accurate.
What a topic, I swear. We only have 1 minute left and we could go on and on. But we're not just talking about data today. We want to give you guys some giveaways here. So if you didn't catch the link that Ashley threw in the chat, make sure you grab that one last time to go ahead and open up your phone and grab that QR code. And obviously there's a ton of things that are on everyone's mind. So if you wanted to reach out to us, have gone ahead and popped up our email addresses. All of us would be happy to have a unique conversation about what is going on with you at your dealership or at the vendor. Pop into us on LinkedIn, and just thank you all so much for attending. And Todd and April, thank you so much for joining me in this conversation today.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, thank you all so much. Such an informative presentation. I can't thank you enough for taking time out to educate our NADA members and we really appreciate your time. Exactly like Michelle said, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Maybe you think of something once the webinar has concluded, or you're watching this on demand. Contact information is on the screen now. And as a quick reminder, this webinar, along with other resources, are available to you and your entire team at nada.org. So on behalf of NADA and Authenticom, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have a great rest of your day.